let's bring Alex Kennedy in from hoopshype.com as he joins us with a look at the Sixers trade yesterday that brings Trevor Booker in here. And Alex, free Ja worked. Okafor is finally traded. Did you like the deal finally for Philadelphia, or was this just kind of best case scenario? Get whatever you can.
Well, I think this is the best that they could have gotten at this point. I would have traded him sooner. We talked about this last season at the trade deadline where, they were looking at their different options, and I think they were asking for a lot. They were asking for a first-round pick, and then we started to hear that, their asking price kind of lowered a little bit to 2 second-round picks, and then now, they bring in Trevor Booker, who's a good veteran that will help this team on and off the floor, but you see what they had to give up, not only Okafor, but also, Nick and the second-round pick. So they actually ended up giving up a pick rather than acquiring one. But I think, their priorities changed a little bit. Rather than getting another draft pick, it made sense to bring in someone like Booker who can provide solid minutes. And he can kind of do the same thing as J.J. Redick in terms of helping the team on and off the floor as a veteran leader, a mentor for the young guys. And he's a free agent after this year, too. So while his salary is a little bit higher than Nick and Jahlil combined, it frees up cap space after the season, or they can re-sign him.
Brett Brown seemed to indicate, Alex, that he may have to fight to earn his minutes when he comes over and joins the Sixers. How do you think this affects the guys that are on the team, like Richaun Holmes?
Yeah, I mean, for guys like Richaun Holmes or Amir Johnson, certainly there's going to be more competition for minutes in the front court. I think Booker makes more sense. I'd probably play Booker, to be honest. I think he's really good defensively, great energy guy. Every place that he's went, whether it's Utah or Brooklyn, Washington, he's been a fan favorite. It's because he hustles like crazy. He's a pest on defense, and he knows his role. And that's really what he was kind of telling me during the interview this morning that ran on Hoops Hype, that, he sees himself as a bigger version of T.J. McConnell. That's how he described himself, because he's going to make those energy plays. You're never going to have to worry about effort with him, and he's going to be really good defensively. So I think, he will have to earn minutes, obviously, but I think he'll carve out a role in that rotation.
Alex Kennedy, Hoops Hype, had an interview with Trevor Booker. How did he learn about the deal going to Philly? Because it kind of came out of the blue yesterday that, hey, by the way, Jahlil Okafor has been traded. So what did he say about how he found out about it?
Well, it's kind of crazy. He was actually in Mexico because the Nets were playing the Thunder in Mexico City yesterday. So he was taking his pregame nap in his hotel room, and his wife actually traveled with him because they were going to Mexico. So during his nap, his wife came in the room, and she had seen it on Twitter and woke Trevor up and said, "I think you're being traded to Philadelphia." And then, a few minutes later, he gets a phone call in the hotel room, and then Sean Marks asked to come meet him. So that's when he found out officially. And then really the last 24 hours have been nuts for him. He was trying to fly back to New York, had to take a flight to Houston first, and then his flight from Houston to New York got delayed. So he got back to his home this morning at about 5 a.m. And then started packing, basically, and then left to go drive to Philly at 8 a.m. So he basically got no sleep. This morning, whenever he called me, he was still up after packing and was about to head over to Philly. So he should be there soon to complete his physical, and he may be able to play by tomorrow. We'll see, but his plan was to get to Philly today.
You talked to Booker over the offseason and kind of mentioned Philly. He actually brought up Embiid and said he thought he'd take him over Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and that was all without prompting. He was on the Hoops Hype podcast with me, and we kind of went through some of the teams that had been active over the offseason, and I just asked him what he thought of the Sixers summer. And he actually coached Markelle Fultz during a camp whenever he was in high school, and he became a big fan of Fultz's game and said, you're going to be in the NBA very soon. You're going to be very good. So he was a big fan of Fultz. He said that Dario Saric would be an all-star in a few years. He was really impressed with Dario when he played against him, and said that, it's amazing that we kind of look at Dario as being, the third or fourth most intriguing prospect on this team, but even he has all-star potential. And then he really raved about Embiid. He said that as you mentioned, he would take. He was having a debate with a friend, and the friend was saying he would take Anthony Davis. And having played against Embiid last year, Booker said no. I would take Embiid. He's that good. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a superstar in this league. And this morning when I talked to Booker, he reiterated that. He said he feels like Embiid's already one of the best players in the NBA, and he can only get better since he's played, so few games and is still so young. He's really excited to watch him develop and play alongside him.
He compared himself to a current Sixer. He said, for those of you who don't know a lot about his game, he kind of said, I'm a much bigger T.J. McConnell, which I guess if you're one of those Sixers fans that likes that gritty style of play, that they'll probably end up liking this guy. So you think he'll fit in and kind of get into the rotation here?
Yeah, I think so. I told him whenever he said that was a great answer, and Sixers fans are going to love that because I know that they really respect McConnell's grit and hustle plays. And I think I do think it's a good comparison. Booker is kind of underrated, just like McConnell, and they have a similar impact on the games. Obviously, Booker's doing it in the front court, but I see where he's coming from with that comparison, and I do think he's the kind of guy that can help every team. He really finds a way to make an impact on the floor and off the floor. So I think he's going to earn a spot in this rotation. I think he'll find a way to be productive in those minutes, even if he's not shooting the ball a lot. That's one thing that he did improve while in Brooklyn. He averaged a career high in scoring this year and last year. And then he started really shooting some threes too. So he can be kind of a stretch forward now as well. But even if he's not shooting the ball, he's going to provide, rebounding, really good defense, and hustle plays, and every team could use that. Every contender loves to have that on their roster. So I think he'll provide some depth in that front court.
So, Alex, what's your overall impression of where this Sixers team is now, even after a couple of bad losses to Phoenix and the Lakers?
Yeah, I felt like they should have won those two games. I understood the losses to Cleveland and Boston and Golden State, but it's unfortunate they dropped those two games at home. But I love the Sixers team. I think they're really fun to watch. Not only are they really talented, but they play a really fun, entertaining brand of basketball. Ben Simmons has exceeded all my expectations. I thought he'd be very good, but I didn't see him averaging these kind of numbers right off the bat. I thought he'd have a little more trouble scoring the ball with his jumper, but he's been fantastic. Embiid is playing on a whole other level. He was great last year. He's been even better this year. I think Robert Covington's probably one of the most underrated players in the NBA. He has that two-way game and just finds a way to impact the game. I think J.J. Redick was a great pickup that we talked about over the offseason. I love this team. I think Brett Brown's doing a terrific job coaching these guys. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year, and then it's going to be exciting to see what they can do come playoff time. That was another thing that I talked to Booker about. He was kind of saying this is just the start. They're going to be a playoff team this year most likely if they, continue to play well. And then, a few years from now, we could be talking about this team as one of the top squads in the Eastern Conference. And Booker said if they want to have him, he wants to resign. He's really excited about this future.
Alex Kennedy, hoopshype.com. By the way, check out that full Q&A with Trevor Booker, the newest 76er. What do you think this team is lacking right now? What are they still? I mean, Fultz hasn't played, so I guess he would bring something that they're lacking, although a lot of people are already questioning that trade the way Tatum has really started off there. But when you look at this 76er team and they lose a game against Phoenix and they lose a game against L.A. and that game out in Sacramento against the Kings, that people just kind of scratch their head and say, well, growing pains. But what is something that you think this team is still kind of lacking that they need to target?
I think it is, just experience, because I look at the roster right now, and you mentioned that Markelle Fultz, hasn't really been able to play. Obviously, he's had the injury, but you look at the amount of touches that they're having to give, Simmons and Redick and Covington. Embiid's already said that he wants more post-up opportunities. So, you look at the usage percentage for all these guys, it's hard to imagine, where they're going to be able to create shots and touches for Markelle Fultz when he is completely healthy, because he's a guy that was so good in college with the ball in his hands and scoring from three and mid-range. I think that's something that they could use, shooting. Obviously, Redick is helping, in that regard, but Simmons, doesn't shoot at all. So I think getting another shooter in Fultz out there with him could help. As I mentioned, Booker may help in that area because, he's someone that has been able to stretch his game out to the three-point line. So I think shooting threes and just gaining experience. I'm really curious to see what happens when Fultz comes back.
Yeah.
Brett Brown even admitted the other day that He hasn't really given much thought to how they're going to put him into the rotation and, change up touches and minutes and all those things that they've had to allocate while he's gone. But it'll be very interesting to see. He's only going to help them, I think.
Do you think in the end Okafor will end up going to Brooklyn and being a productive guy to where Sixer fans will say, what were you thinking? Why'd you get rid of him? Or do you think that he's just kind of miscasted in today's NBA?
I think he'll do well there. He's the guy that we've seen can average, almost 18 points per game when he's getting a lot of touches in the paint. I think, he had to get traded for this situation to work out. He needs that change of scenery to kind of blossom and become the player that he wants to be. I think part of the problem in Philadelphia was not only the lack of minutes, but the fact that every time he got touches in the paint, he really wouldn't pass the ball out, and he just needs to be kind of the focal point of an offense, or at least, a number two option. In Brooklyn, they have D'Angelo Russell, obviously, but there's plenty of touches and plenty of opportunity to go around there. So I think he's going to be able to thrive a bit in Brooklyn. I don't think Sixer fans are going to regret this trade. I think it's a kind of, maybe they'll regret not trading him sooner or having to give up, a draft pick in addition to trading Okafor rather than acquiring a pick. But I think, it's hard to say he's not going to, become a starting caliber player or, at least a really good bench player because he's only 21 years old. I think, they'll do a good job of developing him in Brooklyn. And I think eventually, he could be a solid player for them.
Alex Kennedy, hoopshype.com, at Alex Kennedy NBA. Read his Q&A with new Sixer Trevor Booker at hoopshype.com. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks a lot. Take care.